When Christopher Columbus first encountered the peoples of the New World, he was deeply moved. For their part, the Taino of the Caribbean thought that Columbus and his sailors were gods who had come from heaven. But within a single generation, the peaceful kingdom of the Taino, which Columbus had witnessed, would be gone forever, devastated by disease, slavery, torture, and war. The New World that Columbus found was, in fact, an ancient place, inhabited by people whom he mistakenly called Indians, and who had lived on the continent for thousands of years. They were Ice Age hunters, following the rising sun from Asia across a land bridge to discover a continent ruled by glaciers and great horned bison. These early explorers were the true discoverers of the Americas, leaving behind footprints and stories that would shape the future of the continent. Their journey was one of survival, ingenuity, and a deep connection to the world they inhabited. As the ice melted, these nomadic tribes moved southward, following the stars, the seasons, and the herds. They settled in mountain ranges, lush river valleys, and vibrant desert canyons. These tribes developed languages and customs as diverse as the feathers of birds. They formed close-knit communities where oral traditions passed down wisdom and history through generations. Despite their differences, they all shared spiritual roots deeply connected to the earth. They believed that every rock, river, and tree held a spirit, and their ceremonies honored these natural forces. Then, after centuries, the white man came in search of wealth and power. 2 million indigenous people would endure centuries of struggle before their freedom was lost entirely. Their cultures, however, would prove resilient, adapting and surviving despite immense pressure. They would endure, drawing strength from their ancestors and the lands that nourished them. The Europeans came from the east, bringing horses, guns, and disease, and in their hearts carried a belief in their destiny to rule the Americas from the Atlantic to the Pacific. As the settlers moved westward, they waged an unrelenting war against the native peoples, seeking to seize their lands. In this struggle, indigenous civilizations were crushed to pave the way for the white man's era of railroads, telegraphs, and mining. Yet, despite these relentless pressures, Native American cultures persisted, adapting in ways that reflected their resilience and commitment to preserving their heritage. Many tribes found ways to maintain their traditions, holding secret ceremonies and passing on their knowledge in the face of assimilation policies. They preserved their languages, their songs, and their dances, which became acts of resistance and symbols of enduring cultural identity. Yet, the history of America is also the history of the Native Americans. They provided the Europeans with the skills and knowledge necessary to survive in the new land, teaching them how to cultivate maize, beans, and squash the three sisters that sustained both cultures. These stories recount the powerful indigenous nations, from the Iroquois in New York, with their confederation of 6 nations bound by democratic principles, to the Seminole of Florida, who created a nation that mirrored the diversity of America. The Iroquois, with their unique governance model, inspired some of the democratic principles that became the foundation of the United States, demonstrating that indigenous political structures were advanced and sophisticated. Their wisdom extended beyond governance. It included a deep understanding of social cohesion, communal welfare, and the importance of balance in leadership. The Navajo in the Southwest fought fiercely to defend their territory. They had a profound spiritual connection to their land, which they believed was the center of the universe. The Cheyenne, proud and independent, and the Lakota, fearless warriors, together resisted white encroachment for 50 years. These stories do not tell the full history of the indigenous peoples, but they paint a picture of their vast lands, deep beliefs, and courage as they faced the twilight of their freedom. These were people with complex social structures, intricate spiritual practices, and a deep understanding of their environment. Their respect for nature was not simply a way of life. It was a philosophy that shaped their worldview and guided their interactions with the land and each other. They cultivated medicinal plants, practiced sustainable hunting, and revered the natural world in a way that influenced early conservationist thought in America. Their knowledge of natural resources and sustainable living was a profound contribution to what would later be recognized as environmental stewardship. In upstate New York, where rivers and lakes weave through dense green forests and misty swamps, the Iroquois established a powerful confederation. This alliance was formed to ensure peace among the 5 nations: Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca. Before this confederation, these nations were often at war with one another until, in the 14th century, a great peacemaker emerged with the message that all people should love one another and live in harmony. This peacemaker's vision was not only a call for peace, but also an innovative political structure which included checks and balances and democratic representation, principles that would later influence the founders of the United States. The Great Law of Peace, which governed the Iroquois Confederacy, was a model of governance that emphasized collective decision-making and balance of power, serving as an inspiration for later political systems in North America. Their system of consensus building and community leadership laid the groundwork for modern ideas of democracy and federalism. The Iroquois Confederacy was established to protect one another and to extend unity among the indigenous nations. This confederation even attracted the attention of the founding fathers of the United States, like Benjamin Franklin, who was impressed by their system of governance. During the American Revolution, the Confederation was divided, with some nations siding with the British and others with the colonies. After the war ended, they were treated as a conquered people, forced to surrender much of their precious land. Despite this betrayal, the Iroquois spirit endured. They adapted to their changing circumstances, finding ways to maintain their culture while also navigating the new political realities imposed upon them. They restructured their societies and worked to preserve their traditions, even as their land base shrank and their autonomy was challenged. They continued to pass down their stories, ensuring that the memory of their ancestors and the values of their people would never be forgotten. But it was not only the Iroquois who represented the struggles of the indigenous peoples. The Seminole of Florida fought in the longest resistance against U.S. expansion. The Seminoles' resilience was marked by their ability to adapt and incorporate other cultures, including escaped African slaves, into their society. Together, they created a diverse and inclusive community that resisted U.S. aggression through a combination of guerrilla warfare and strategic alliances. Despite being vastly outnumbered and outgunned, they fought 3 wars and managed to remain in their homeland, becoming one of the few indigenous groups never formally defeated by the United States. Their story is a testament to the power of unity and determination, and it highlights the complexities of alliances between different marginalized groups in the face of oppression. The Seminoles' survival against all odds exemplifies the strength found in solidarity and cultural adaptability, traits that have kept their heritage alive to this day. The Navajo were forced to march on a brutal journey to Bosque Redondo, a harsh internment camp where they faced suffering and death. The journey, known as the Long Walk, was a tragic chapter in Navajo history, yet it also demonstrated their resilience. Though they endured hunger, cold, and the loss of many lives, the Navajo held on to their traditions and eventually negotiated their return to a portion of their homeland. This resilience is still seen today, as the Navajo Nation remains one of the largest and most culturally vibrant Native American communities in the United States. They have managed to preserve their language, traditional crafts, and ceremonies, ensuring that their cultural heritage remains alive despite centuries of external pressure. Their traditional knowledge, such as sand painting and herbal medicine, continues to be a source of cultural pride and identity, serving as a bridge connecting the present generation with their storied past. The Cheyenne were massacred at Sand Creek, an event that epitomized the brutality faced by many Native peoples during the era of westward expansion. Despite this tragic loss, the Cheyenne continued to fight for their rights and their way of life. They joined forces with other tribes, including the Lakota, in a series of battles aimed at defending their lands. The Lakota, too, fought valiantly, with leaders like Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull becoming symbols of resistance against the encroaching settlers. Their most famous victory, at the Battle of the Little Big Horn, was a testament to their strategic brilliance and determination to protect their people and their way of life. The Lakota fought not only to defend their physical territory, but also to preserve their cultural and spiritual identity, which they saw as inseparable from the land they inhabited. Their deep spiritual practices, including the sun dance and vision quests, played a crucial role in maintaining their cultural cohesion and strength during times of great adversity. The Lakota fought until their last stand at Wounded Knee, a massacre that marked the end of the Indian Wars. Despite the oppression and loss, their spirit was never broken. The values they preserved continue to live on in the cultural and spiritual heritage of America today. The ghost dance movement, which emerged in the late 19th century, was a powerful expression of hope among the Lakota and other tribes. It symbolized a yearning for a return to their traditional way of life and an end to the suffering brought by colonization. Though it ended in tragedy at Wounded Knee, the movement left a lasting legacy of resistance and cultural pride. It also reflected the enduring belief in the possibility of renewal and the strength of the human spirit, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. The spiritual significance of the ghost dance remains a poignant reminder of the resilience of indigenous beliefs in the face of systematic suppression. These stories are not just tales of loss and tragedy, but also affirmations of identity and pride. They leave us lessons of love for the land, resilience, and courage. Their presence has always been an essential part of America's journey, from the past to the present, and it will certainly continue to be so in the future. Indigenous contributions to agriculture, medicine, art, and governance are woven into the fabric of modern American society. From the crops that sustain us to the democratic ideals that guide our governance, the influence of Native Americans is profound and enduring. They showed the world how to live in harmony with the environment, emphasizing balance and sustainability long before these concepts became popular in modern discourse. Their approach to communal living, shared resources, and respect for the natural world offers valuable insights for addressing the pressing environmental and social challenges of today. The history of indigenous peoples in North America is not just a history of resistance, but also of contributions, creativity, and community. The Iroquois Confederacy influenced the democratic ideals that helped shape the United States. The Seminoles built an inclusive society that welcomed different peoples, creating a cultural mosaic reflective of modern America. The Navajo, with their spiritual connection to the land, showed resilience in preserving their culture despite forced relocations and hardships. The Cheyenne and Lakota embodied the fierce independence and desire for freedom that resonate in the spirit of all Americans. Their artistic contributions, from beadwork to oral storytelling, have enriched the cultural tapestry of the continent, providing unique perspectives that continue to inspire. Their songs, dances, and intricate craftsmanship speak to a rich cultural heritage that has survived despite all efforts to eradicate it. From the Great Lakes to the deserts of the Southwest, these nations built diverse and vibrant cultures that thrived for centuries. They celebrated the land, the seasons, and the interconnectedness of all living things. The Iroquois held festivals of Thanksgiving, honoring the bounty of the earth. The Seminoles held the Green Corn Festival to mark the new year, a time of renewal and forgiveness. The Navajo wove their stories into intricate blankets, preserving the memory of their ancestors and the sacredness of their land. The Lakota honored the buffalo, a symbol of abundance and the sustenance of life on the Great Plains, integrating every part of the animal into their daily lives, demonstrating a deep respect for the interconnectedness of all things. Their celebrations were more than cultural events. They were expressions of a worldview that saw all of creation as sacred, a belief that remains a powerful message for humanity today. These ceremonies and celebrations not only reinforced social bonds, but also ensured the transmission of cultural knowledge and values to future generations. The struggles faced by these nations were immense, but their legacy is one of strength and inspiration. The resilience of the indigenous peoples in the face of overwhelming odds is a testament to their enduring spirit. Their stories remind us that America was built not just by those who arrived on its shores, but also by those who were its original stewards who cherished the land and sought to live in harmony with it. They remind us that true strength lies not in conquest, but in the ability to adapt, endure, and remain true to one's values. The cultural knowledge of Native Americans, particularly in areas such as environmental stewardship, traditional medicine, and communal living, provides invaluable lessons for addressing modern challenges like climate change and social inequality. Their traditions of communal decision-making and respect for natural resources are models that the world can learn from as it grapples with these urgent issues. Today, the descendants of these proud nations continue to fight for their rights, their lands, and their cultures. They remind us that the story of America is incomplete without acknowledging the contributions, sacrifices, and strength of the Native American peoples. They are a vital part of the American story past, present, and future, and their voices continue to echo through the mountains, plains, and forests that they have called home for thousands of years. Their influence is seen in modern environmental movements, in the push for sustainable living, and in the fight for social justice. As we look to the future, the lessons of the indigenous peoples of respect for the earth, community, and resilience are more relevant than ever, guiding us toward a more inclusive and harmonious world. Their wisdom offers a path forward that honors diversity, values the natural world, and seeks to build a society where all can thrive. Their voices continue to challenge us to create a world that respects and values all cultures, ensuring that the mistakes of the past are not repeated, and that the richness of humanity's diversity is cherished for generations to come.